Something happened in the Persian Gulf that shook every military analyst in Washington to their core, and most Americans still have no idea just how close to the edge we came. Let me take you back to February 28, 2026. The United States and Israel had just launched a massive coordinated surprise strike deep inside Iran, Operation Epic Fury. Hundreds of targets across the Islamic Republic hit simultaneously. Iranian military infrastructure, missile sites, naval bases, command centers, obliterated within hours. And in the process, some of Iran's most senior military commanders were killed. Iran had promised for years, if you hit us, we will hit back harder. And this time, they meant it. Within hours of those initial strikes, Iran launched one of the largest retaliatory missile and drone campaigns the Middle East has ever seen. Shahid drones. Ballistic missiles. Swarm after swarm, fired at American military installations spread across 9 countries simultaneously. Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and most critically of all, Bahrain. Because Bahrain is not just another base. Bahrain is home to Naval Support Activity Bahrain, the headquarters of the United States Navy's 5th Fleet. The single most important American naval command in the entire Middle East. A base that controls operations across nearly 2.5 million square miles of ocean, covering the Arabian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Oman, and parts of the Indian Ocean. A base that is home to over 8,000 sailors and their families. Iran fired directly at that base. Missiles and Shahid drones slammed into the Jufair district of Manama. Buildings caught fire. Thick black smoke billowed into the sky above the Bahraini capital. Footage spread across social media within minutes showing an Iranian drone punching straight through a high-rise tower block near the headquarters, setting it ablaze. The Crown Plaza Hotel was struck. An Amazon Web Services data center took debris damage. Port Mina Salman was hit by an Iranian missile, killing a Bangladeshi shipyard worker and setting an American oil tanker on fire. By the time the first wave was over, the world was watching Bahrain burn. But here is what Iran did not count on. The U.S. Navy had already moved. Days before the first missile was ever fired. American naval intelligence had done something extraordinary. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, 2 of the most powerful naval formations on the entire planet, had quietly disappeared from the Persian Gulf. Vanished into the blue water of the Arabian Sea and the Mediterranean. Far out of range. Safely beyond the kill zone of Iran's coastal missile batteries. Iran thought they were about to deliver a knockout blow to the 5th Fleet. Instead, they hit the parking lot. The cars were already gone. And then the 5th Fleet hit back. Within 48 hours of Epic Fury launching, the United States Navy had systematically dismantled the Iranian naval forces with a precision and speed that left military observers speechless. Tomahawk cruise missiles fired from American submarines and surface ships tore through Iranian naval bases along the southern coast of the Persian Gulf. Iranian anti-ship missile sites, gone. Iranian warships, destroyed at port. Iran's small submarine fleet, a mix of midget submarines and Russian-built Kilo-class attack boats, targeted and struck before they could even sortie. The numbers tell the story bluntly. In the Gulf of Oman alone, Iran had 11 warships operating 2 days before the conflict. Within 48 hours of American strikes beginning, that number dropped to 0. 11 ships. Gone. Just like that. But Iran wasn't finished. On March 13, an Iranian naval vessel made a decision that sealed its fate. It sailed dangerously close to the USS Abraham Lincoln, the crown jewel of American carrier aviation, operating in the 5th Fleet's area of operations. The Navy responded immediately. A Mark 45 naval gun opened fire. A Seahawk helicopter armed with Hellfire missiles was launched. 2 Hellfire missiles found their target, The Iranian ship was struck and disabled. That is what the Fifth Fleet does. That is what happens when you come for the most powerful navy in human history. Meanwhile, back in Bahrain, the base was fighting a battle of its own. By the beginning of March, Bahrain's defense forces reported intercepting 54 separate drone and missile strikes across the entire country. By March 11th, that number had climbed to 112 intercepted ballistic missiles and 186 drones since the start of the war. 186 drones, just over Bahrain alone. And yet the Fifth Fleet kept operating. It never stopped. Now let's zoom out for a second, because what is happening here is bigger than just one base or one battle. What Iran attempted to do was send a message to every American ally in the Middle East. They fired at Qatar. They fired at Kuwait. They fired at Saudi Arabia and the UAE. They temporarily forced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical oil shipping choke points on the entire planet, threatening to open fire on any vessel attempting to pass through. 20% of the world's oil supply moves through that strait. Every single day. The IRGC commander stood up publicly and declared that all American and Israeli targets in the Middle East had been struck by, quote, the powerful blows of Iranian missiles, and promised the operation would continue until the enemy was, quote, decisively defeated. But the enemy was not defeated. Not even close. Operation Epic Fury continued. By March 10th, U.S. Central Command announced American forces had struck more than 5,000 targets inside Iran. 5,000. In under 2 weeks. Iranian military infrastructure systematically taken apart piece by piece while the Fifth Fleet held the line in Bahrain and hunted Iranian naval assets across the Gulf. And here is the piece that most channels won't tell you. The U.S. military debuted a brand new weapon system during this conflict, Lucas. The low-cost unmanned combat attack system. A $35,000 American-made attack drone, reverse-engineered from Iran's own Shahid-136. America turned Iran's own weapon design against them. Mass-produced in Arizona. Deployed in the Gulf. 2 superpowers, fighting with versions of the exact same cheap drone, trying to bankrupt each other's air defenses one interceptor missile at a time. That is the future of warfare unfolding in real time. Right now. In the Persian Gulf. The U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet has been tested like it hasn't been tested in a generation. It took hits. Real hits. American sailors